Skaparo.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Am I still audio?
Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey ha yo
Since
hey ya
Larry went on mute.
hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey ya hey Fort Beck Community College, Ukiebino, yo, me too, Gashi, Dagush, Kashka, Yogi, Piano, yo, Wata, Pepe, Hagi, Tabi, Itachi, ya, Bino. Hey yo, hey ha ya, hey ha ya, hey ya, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey ha ya, hey ya, yo, hey ha, yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey ha ya, hey ha. Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey yo hey yo Fort Beck Community College Ukiebino yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo wata pebi agik tabi ihachi ya bino hey
Oh,
yo
it's working.
hey
Okay, so
yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey hey yo Fort Beck Community College Ukiebino yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo wata pebi hagik tabi ihachi ya bino hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey yo hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha hey ha ya hey ya hey hey yo hey yo Fort Peck Community College Ukiebino yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo wata pepe hagik tabi ihachi ya bino hey yo
Haumetakuipi. Okay, Yushkewan, Chiancampichan. Tewashtea Yuhana Pichu Zapido. Elijah Hopkins Demie. Wana Wachinja Wakpa Dechia. Daya Hiripido Mitakuipi. Hello, everyone, again, and welcome to the Buffalo Chasers podcast. We are streaming at you live from Fort Peck Community College, here located in Poplar, Montana. want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. Again, I am Elijah Hopkins, one of the co-hosts, along with Dekshi, Mr. Tommy Christian, Dekshi, Mr. Earl Bullhead, are all in the house today. So we want to discuss a few different things. We're at week number 25, and again, we're always centered on mental health awareness for our community members, for our students, leveraging the best parts of our culture to address those things. And so and usually what we try to do is I do have a few announcements maybe after our prayer that we can get into the discussion, but I ask Dekshi if he would offer us another prayer, if you could, please.
Wopila chicha, toshka daya chana wopila chicha. My relatives again. It's important to understand, like springtime. This is a time when a lot of preparation are being taking place. Everybody's getting ready for their new year. You also hear traditionalists talk about the new year is after our Sundance or after our big lodges, and that's when our new year starts. And so, uh, in a good way, I'm gonna share my prayer. I'm gonna say everything in English that I would normally say in my language, so that you can kind of understand, get the concept of how we think, especially at times like this. And my prayer is usually always the same. So if you'll just bear with me, and again, I'm just gonna say it all in English, what I usually would say in my language. So Ushimala Omakia Mitakia Piagnagupta. Wasicho Wagalake Lilo Astelo, na Wasicho Waikte, Ushimana Omakia. My grandfather of long ago, prehistoric times, are going to ask you to come and help us. The spiritual energy that is up here, that provides us guidance and direction, we're going to call on you to come and share with us and look after us and watch over us and guide us in a good way. Those four directions, those cardinal directions, we're going to call on you as well to come and to help us understand the importance of the places, the things that sit with you and help us and guide us in a good way. We also call on our Mother Earth and our Grandmother Earth to come and help us to understand the importance of this, making good tracks on this road that we speak about, this spiritual road. So with that, my grandfathers, my grandfather, mothers, and all of those that sit on the other side, we're going to call you and ask you to come to the center here. Come to this hochokan, this altar, and help us to understand the importance of being respectful for all that is, and in a good way. We're going to ask you if you would remember all of our old ladies, the old ladies that carry that wisdom, the old men that carry that wisdom that we hold dear to our hearts. We're going to ask you also to remember those little babies that have just recently been born, that you watch over them, and that we can make good decisions in our own personal lives to provide for them a good future. We ask that you remember all of those young little boys and those little girls that are out there trying to be helpful in their own way, understanding as they look inwardly their purpose and their dedication, even at that young of an age, as they learn from their mothers, their grandmothers, their aunties, their sisters, and of course all of those that are involved from the female perspective as they teach them how to become who and what they are. We call on you in a good way. We also ask that you will watch over and be mindful of all those that are having a hard time because they're walking around with a mournful heart. We ask that you watch over all those that are walking around with illnesses and sicknesses, that you may be helping them to heal themselves again as we do these things. We also ask in a good way this spiritual energy to come amongst us and watch over our warriors that put themselves in harm's way for the sake of this freedom that they fight so hard for, that sometimes we take for granted, but at times like this we definitely appreciate. We ask that you watch over the men and the women that are serving in the military away from their families, but at the same time remember the families that are praying for their safe return, that you'll always pity them in a good way. So we ask that you look after them, pity them, and we try hard to do these things. And so we ask that you watch over all of those that are walking on this red road, that they make good tracks on it for those that are following them, especially our young people. And we ask that you continue to do these things in a spiritual way to help us understand and not fear what is of this higher power, this spiritual energy that provides us that guidance and direction. And we welcome them here amongst us to come into our minds, our hearts, our bodies, and our spirits to help us realize the importance of who we are as individuals. And so as we do these things, we keep in mind all of those things that are out there that we're preparing to appease in a good way with cloth, with prayers, with suffering, with sacrifice. And in that, we pray for all of our wapia, wichashapi, our healers in ceremony of the men, our healers in ceremony of the women, that you watch over them, give them a good, strong mind, good, strong heart, good, strong spirit as they continue their efforts based on the protocol that they have been taught in a good way. So with that, I say, all my relations and all of the creation that you'll pity me and help me. My Assiniboine name is Eagle Claw, and but they also refer to me as Four. Oh, hechetu.
Oh, Pidama Dex. Medakuyepi, we're at week number 25 of the Buffalo Chasers podcast series, weekly, coming at you again every Thursday from 3 to 4. Man, so the weeks are flying by. We haven't missed a beat. Here we are. And today is one of our topics, Washichu ya springtime Gapido.
Oh,
And before I guess we delve off to that discussion, for those of you that are joining us on Facebook, give us a like, give us a share, put something in the comment field, show us some Facebook love, because that's how you get your name in the hat for our weekly Buffalo Chasers drawing. Every week we have these Cho jackets that actually Tommy over there is rocking over there, Fort Peck Community College logo. It's almost like you've lettered in being Indian. You've lettered in being a Buffalo Chaser. So it's really cool. We try to give those out every week. We also have a Kindle Fire, one of those tablets.
yeah.
So by participating virtually through the social media, that's how you're able to get your name in that hat. And so so for last week was week 24. The winners of that are, we have a Buffalo Chasers jacket. Again, the winner of that jacket is Les Foxman, Bighorn, winner, chicken dinner.
Tashi, hechetu.
Okay, wash de do less. And then also we have a, like I said, the Kindle Fire tablet, and the winner for that is Danelle Black Thunder. Congratulations, winner, chicken dinner. And you can retrieve both of those items at the War Eagle Vision building at the main campus in Poplar. You can give them a call if you're not physically able to come and pick it up at 406-768-6370, or just shoot us an email, or just send us a message through Facebook Messenger to Fort Peck Community College Facebook page, and we'll definitely try and hook you up. So again, just show us some Facebook love, and then that's how you get your name in the hat for next week's drawing. Springtime Gabdo, what do you gentlemen think?
All right, and again, we want to thank all those Ohiesas that are out there. Good job, you guys. Good job, Les. Good job, that Mrs. Black Thunder. Glad you could enjoy and participate in a good way and help us out as we do these things. You know, the reason I said my prayer in English is so the non-Indian relatives can understand how we think, how we talk, how we humble ourselves to this spiritual energy or this higher power, or what you may refer to as the creator or God, however you do that. But at the same time, we always are very inclusive in the manner in which we speak, because our language has no sarcasm in it. It's a respectful, very presentable, disciplined manner in which
Can you
we
get it on the
speak.
phone?
And then that's how we think. We think like that as well because we're taught that. And in the springtime, we rejuvenate all of that um, disposition, if you will, or that character development, and we continue to strengthen ourselves through this ceremonial process. And in that, it takes a lot of preparation to do that. And I wanted to share that because, again, um, that's where you understand. We all begin to understand we're all just ekchewi chasha, and that means just common people. And with that thought process, people often wonder, how do they do that if they're not going to get anything from it? Oh, We get lots from that by being able to strengthen ourselves through this exercise of these virtues, not blessings, because many people are blessed and they have, like my brother here, Chie Earl, he's blessed with a very beautiful voice and has done many good things with that. And but that took a lot of training, a lot of understanding to be touched like that by this spiritual energy to help convey the importance of identity. And as we do these things, we're just all common people, and some people do have a dedication and a purpose and a blessing. And so it's times like this when they say when the buds start coming out, we listen for that meadowlark, we listen for those birds that have returned now. They came back. Oh, wana geabado. They say that. What do they call the when they say they came back? Gubino. They kind of like that. And in that, it's important to understand that what we're making reference to, it's not making fun of or anything, but it's a very respectful approach to these things that we look forward to, we support, we have some aspirations of our future. And if you ever listen to an Indian person, be it an old Indian lady or an old Indian gentleman, they always pray for the future. Even though they may not participate in that future, they're always praying for the future for all the people that will be in there, because their life as their legacy is representative of preparing themselves for in our language, the Lakota language, they say nak e nulo wahu, their preparation to their preparation to go to this better place, or to that spiritual world, that realm that they exist in, where a lot of our non-Indian relatives would refer to it as heaven, or they called it their grandfathers and their grandmothers angels. So we call them grandma and grandpa, all that good stuff. And if you stop and you think about that, when we go, when this transition takes place from this human realm to the spiritual realm, we always refer to them as our grandmothers and our grandfathers, because to us, all of us are just girls or boys. You'll find a lot of names, Indian names, as we go Tatanka, we go Hoaxila, that buffalo, crazy buffalo boy, buffalo clown boys. How's that translates? And in that, that's because to the grandfathers, to those that help us, that we refer to, that help us when we're sitting on the hill asking for spiritual guidance, they'll come in and they'll help us to understand our purpose and our dedication. So we're always mindful of the future. We always try to help one another to be become a positive force in the community, whatever your purpose is. It's not, nothing is insignificant in our way. Everybody has a participatory uh, way about them, but they just got to look inwardly, go beyond that fear of oneself, and then they can step
You
up
have something
and
else
be
plugged in
who they're supposed to be. And you'll receive that from what we call hambletia, where you cry all night for a vision. That's what that means, hambletia. And so as we do these things, this is what some of this land-based teaching will be about. It'll help you to understand, and you don't have to participate. You don't have to involve yourself in praying or any spiritual aspect, but we'd like for you to see and observe exactly how we make preparation for the rest of the year, eh? The medicines that need to be gathered, some of the food that would be gathered and shared, the opportunity for us to be
You're better.
generous and gracious about the manner in which we live. And so at ceremonies, you'll see a lot of this going on, a lot of suffering, a lot of sacrificing based on their commitment to this spiritual energy, that it's not conditional, but it's asking and has wishes. It's like wachekia. It's a heartfelt cry for wishes for other people, not yourself. You'll very seldom find an individual praying for themselves, although a lot of that, the older people will say, don't forget yourself and pray for yourself. Well, just these acts of this humbleness will strengthen you. And again, it comes from the inside out. so that it's really not necessary to pray for yourself, because already you're being looked after in a good way if your intentions are well meant. And so this interpretation of these things as in the springtime as we prepare, like in the winter, we told stories, shared stories, we collected chinchasha when it was 20 below outside and those trees were popping and it was just cold. And then we got our medicines that we needed and prepared them, chopped them up, got everything ready for, and primarily a lot of ceremonies be going on from now until the end of July. And that's where we'll do our Wi Wayang Wachipi or our Tibi Tonga Wachi. But it's stuff like that we're preparing for. So it's kind of a busy time, the spring. And so when we hear those metal arts, oh man, it's music to our ears. The daylight savings time, they said our non-Indian relatives are the only ones believe that if they cut the top of the blanket off and sewed it on the bottom, that would make a longer blanket. That's how they talk about the daylight savings time. But now all of that stuff, now we're on the same time as Canada and all that good stuff. We're back to normal to some degree. But again, the springtime, that's what that means to us. Get out there and get spring fever. And of course, the young people, they get anxious, they get to go outside and they get to interact and all that good stuff. But be careful with this COVID stuff. We've got to really still be careful. So that's why I prayed in English. All that I said in English, that's what I would normally say when I speak my language through the spiritual way of going to the Creator. And I don't like to refer to it as prayer, but I call it Wakan'iapi, kind of like that. And again, it's not necessarily a prayer as much as it is a wish for good things to happen in the future for the sake of all of us. But it's a thought. It's the way we think. Just a lot of positivity, a lot of sharing, and if you're strong enough to develop your character to where you can be courageous enough to express the compassion, the empathy, the loving, the caring, the sharing, the generosity, the patience, all of these things, then that will show the old people that you definitely have a good heart and at least you're trying. So what do you think of that, Chie?
When you talk about spring,
Are you there's something, you got two things on, you got to shut one down. You're getting feedback.
how about now?
Still there. You got a computer or two computers on or two sounds on?
No, there's one on. What's going on here? Well, I can't hear you guys, so we try to. How about now?
What do you think,
Says
Coach
something.
Scott?
There's
Ooh,
still,
that sounds kind of far off, man.
yeah, there's definitely some reverberation.
Electronics, yeah. Kind of talking to you from deep space. Well, God, coming down to talk to you guys. So I don't know. There's a T. Leland,
You got to shut one of those off, bro.
well, I'm trying to figure out which one that is.
Yeah, you got two on, and that's why you're getting that feedback.
Okay, let me see. Give me C. I got you on my computer.
Yeah, well,
I think
turn the
your
other one
guys'
off then.
Your other guys is on. And I can't handle everything. Leland. Is that better? The wires all over here. Two computers going.
Yeah, you got two speakers going. Now you got two faces on there. You got to shut one of them down, brother man.
Well, this take.
Now you got one where you're listening and the other one you're moving.
I don't want to leave the meeting, but here we go.
Oh, there you go.
All right, how's that?
Okay.
Oh, Diana,
Now you can't hear me, right?
Oh,
Now
dai chano chie. Eche tu hello. Okay.
Hila,
You're good, bro.
so bye-bye, bye-bye.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear.
One computer's facing that way, the other one's facing this way.
Yeah.
My son took off someplace, so left me dry here.
Went to the dentist, remember?
Hila,
Tahashi Park headed out.
Hila.
Tupac,
I don't know
where'd
what
you
to
go?
think anymore.
Lala, whoa. Tupac, yeah, but
Well, you got to continue till I get you back on.
no,
Yeah.
you're good. You're on.
You're
We
good,
can
Earl.
see you.
Can you hear
We
us,
can-
Earl?
Hila,
Oh, he
Earl,
must
can
not be
you-
able to hear us.
Chie, can you hear us?
Hila.
Chie, can you hear us? No, you can't hear us.
Hila.
Wonder if we could just tell him to call in.
Oh man.
I can call my
I'll
cell
call him.
phone.
You gonna call him?
Yeah, I'll just.
Okay. Tell him to call. Get him on like that because his
Well, might
face
as
is on
well.
there.
Can't hear me anyways.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't
We
know
can
what
hear
to
you.
think, man.
We'll just give him a call here. Let's call him right now.
Just tell him to stay on his phone.
He's got me all messed up. Leland,
Actually, Tommy, if you want to just kind of carry us here while I give him a call,
Okay.
keep the
Sounds good.
conversation going, then I'll
Yeah.
just give him a call.
Okay. And then as we're waiting for Earl to kind of get his stuff together there, and evidently we've got a problem with the hookups and the whatnot. But like I was saying before, you know, if we understand the importance of, from a philosophical perspective, the thought process of how we do things under the auspice of Nak E Nula Wa'u, then we realize the importance of that preparation. That Nak E Nula Wa'u means you're prepared for anything, or you're making preparation for anything. And in the spiritual way, you're making preparations to go to what our non-Indian relatives refer to as heaven, what we call because we believe that we'll go back to where we came from, and we have stories of origin that help us understand the importance of it's the stars, eh? We chach b'macham, oyate ki'ushia ke mitaki epiunchi macham mane. Wana glipi. They're gonna come back to that place. And can you hear me now, Earl?
Oh, no.
Can you,
Can you hear me?
yeah. Turn your phone off. We'll be good.
Oh, he hung up.
Can you hear me now, Earl? We can't hear you. Now we can't hear you.
Yeah. He's the only one that can unmute. So
You gotta mute. You gotta unmute your computer. Unmute it. See that little? There you go.
can you hear me now?
Yep. Yeah. You're good to
Okay,
go.
so- Always something all the time, man.
Yeah.
I get mileage and per dime and all this stuff. I don't have to mess around with all this stuff.
So now, brother man, you could kind of expound on what I was talking about, why I prayed in English so they understand our thought process, our philosophical understandings of what the old people shared with us and what we prepare for under this auspice of Nak E Nula Wa'u, you know, as we prepare ourselves for these things. And maybe you could kind of expound on that a little bit, Chie.
Yeah, well, I can give you example.
I'll add you to.
I was once asked, giving tobacco, about my opinion. And so in that process, the pack of cigarettes was put in front of me. And the question they wanted, my opinion was what I thought about the situation that was going on with a lot of ceremonies, sun dances. And so I listened to what had to be asked. And I said, well, I said, so many people are looking for spiritual guidance. A lot of people are looking for a way of life.
Yeah.
And what was happening is there was a lot of requests coming in to have people come in from all parts of the world, country, wanting to come and have ceremonies like sun dances and different ceremonies and things, which is something everybody prayed for. I know that.
Mhm.
I said, but I said, that's something that's very relevant. I said, that needs to be thought about. And whether it becomes a reality, who's to say?
Yeah.
But I said, my experience has been that I was taught that when I'm going to participate in these ceremonies, that I speak in my own tongue, my native tongue. I said, English has kind of opened the doors, parts of the world, a lot of these things to take place.
Yeah.
So I said, the way to do it in a respectful manner and be correct is that if they want to participate in these sacred events, they need to learn the language.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a few words, but they need to make actual attempts to honor that and respect for the language. We're raised in two worlds where we have to work and make a living. And so we gotta always be considerate on both sides.
Yeah.
So it's a balance that you have to keep. And we were shown that, the what we call a Changaleshka, the road of many colors. We have different races, we have different nationalities or religious beliefs that are all seeking guidance,
Yeah.
So that balance has to really be maintained. You don't want to hurt people's feelings, or you don't want to guide them in the wrong way. And so that it's a very, very sacred path that you're walking up. And we're confronted on it by every day.
Yeah.
Issues come up, just like what happened just now. I started getting a little frustrated. I had to step away because those are the things that you have to learn to balance. So the way I look at it is that we need to educate people. So we have to exercise English or Russian or German, whatever it takes. But we also, more importantly, we need to dwell deeper into our language. And so my total mind was in a set that we were going to talk about spring. You brought up in our language, we say Wetu.
Oh.
Wetu actually means when things starts getting moist. Rainfall, mist, and all those things that bring about growth for our plants.
Yeah.
And we got to become aware where we can find them. And I was once, when I was younger, my aunt who raised me, she said, I want you to go with me tomorrow. I'm going to show you something. But being young and naive, immature and all that, I went and played in a basketball tournament instead. And what I found out later was that what she wanted to show to me was some plants.
Mm-hmm.
There was that time, and she knew it,
Yeah.
that they would be ready, available for its spirit or its power. And one was for a skin rash that they had a lot of difficulty with in the earlier days. When students picked them up at school, they had to stay away for 2 weeks. for it to cure.
Yeah.
And the other one is treatment of kidneys.
Oh,
And so on our reservation, there are places that people don't live out there anymore, but they say that there was plants, very special plants that grew out there. And so that she was going to show me those things. But I chose something else. When she was a little girl, her sister, Auntie Christine, my Auntie Evelyn, contracted that skin disease. And so they were sent home. And they had to remain home for a duration that was allowed. But back came the grandma who had this medicine. She used it on them in 3 days, it cleared up. So she sent them back to school.
that's it.
And so when the nurse seen it, called the doctor, they said, we have some students here that are healed up from this skin disease. They said, and so he came down. He wanted to talk to my grandma. He wanted to get that from her, and she refused him.
Yeah.
She said, no, she said, so many other things have been taken. He said, this is something that we have that is very sacred, healing power. And also, we have that bridge to deal with too. We have all these things that our elderly people have passed down, knowledgeable people that help you, you know. And prayer was the most significant one. My daughter was running a temperature that wouldn't go down, and we didn't know what to do. My missus was with her the whole time, and the only other alternative I had was to pray. And I was just learning at the time. I used to sit outside the sweat lodge and listen to those guys sing. And that's how I picked up a lot of songs. You heard me singing outside. But when my daughter was ill like that, I don't know, for some reason, I remembered a song and I sang. And I put all my whole heart into it. And when the ceremony was over, we went into my adopted dad and mom's place, sat down to eat. The phone rang, and they told me that her fever broke.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So this morning she came. She's here with me, checking up on me.
Oh, that's
Anyway, so those are the kinds of things that people need to be told about. And of all things, the only thing we have for each other is prayers, you know? Everything else is materialistic. But even still, there's medicine that we can use. And there's something that I wanted to share, and I don't know if I told you about this last time, but you know, when the Dakota conflict happened in Minnesota, people were forced to fast. There was no food available. Had a hard time, you know.
Oh,
And one of the things that they relied on heavily was muskrat.
yeah.
They hunted muskrats. And I was watching a documentary on Nova, I think it was, public television, and they were talking about muskrats. And they said that is the most cleanest, non-toxic flesh of meat that a human being could ever consume. And so how they knew that, who knows? But that's what made it, those people made it through. And having as part of their sustenance was muskrat meat.
Uh-huh.
You know, so when people say, ooh, muskrat meat, you know, we don't know the real history or the usage of those animals.
Yeah.
And they're out there. They're powerful. Songs, we got lullabies from porcupines. We learn how to talk from the Hashiaganupa. When the meadowlarks talk to each other, there's flickers, there's tails in the back that flicker, and that's why they call them Hashiaganupa. So we learn how to talk from them, and then we learn how to sing from Kaiwa. So those are the kinds of information that were handed down to us and told that to be respectful enough to share that information with the younger generations. And so Kashiaganupa, meadowlarks, are the only birds that build their nests in the tall grass. They don't put their nests in the trees.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of good stories about meadowlarks, Anyway, when we were kids, we made slingshots, and we used to hunt meadowlarks for the grandmas. And so we used to eat meadowlarks. We even roasted them by ourselves in the creek down there. We made crutches and we made a fire, and we actually defeathered them, cleaned them up, and we actually roasted them like we do barbecue chicken today,
Yeah.
And we ate it. We used to eat them as boys, pretending to be warriors. We had rules as kids. I'm 72, going on 73. We had little kolakichias when we were little. We could not exist without a ipani, they call it. Now you see everybody carrying a ipani when they're dancing. Those sticks is how you got your leader's attention. If you had a voice and wanted to say something, you would shake him. You put him in air and you would shake him, and they'd give you the floor. But you could not touch anyone. You had to use that stick. You wanted to get someone's attention, you just tap them with that. You had to be quiet. You had to become part of earth to be part of that harmony with nature, so you wouldn't be heard. And that's how we were trained to be warriors. So we used to play being warriors. We also learned how to cry.
Yeah.
They captured our leader. He's passed away now too. And he got captured, and they were trying to get information out of him because each section of town had that little kolakichia. Each one had its leader. When they captured ours, they put him in a horse barn, had him tied up, and they would ask him questions, and they would poke a stick above his head, and all that dirt would fall on his hair. That really made us feel bad. What are we going to do? How are we going to get him out there? They got him,
Yeah.
He's your leader. How are we going to get him out of there? And so we got together and we sat about it, thought about it, and pretty soon said, hey, maybe they're hungry.
Yeah.
Let's go back and tell their mom they're hungry. So we ran over to their houses, and at that time, the grandmas or the moms, they would come out and stand at the doorway. They would keep on, they call it. We chalk keep on. They would say, oh, wala kupye, loliwa khayala. I cooked, come home now, come and eat, it's ready. So
Yeah.
when we got back there, pretty soon you can hear them. So all those boys scattered to go home to eat. And so that's how we went in and recaptured our leader. Those are memorable events you would never forget,
Yeah.
And so that was something that was transcended from the generations before, that a lot of younger generations need to be experienced with. The societies, as many
Mindful
as
of,
there
yeah.
was, the Badger societies, Fox societies, Antelope societies, down the list.
Yeah.
Crow societies, Strong Heart. These were all ways in which young men and women were tested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, adjective.
Yeah.
Chie, that's really something that we're trying to reestablish from the ground up, like what you're speaking to, that society. This here, hopefully, once we establish this Buffalo Chaser Society based at the college, hopefully these other societies will start popping up. The Fox Society, Crazy Dog Society, all these different societies, and they'll start identifying their responsibility, the significance, the memorable things that happen, and hopefully in the future they'll talk about when the resurgence of the societies came back, and again, that's something we're starting to do, and we want to just not get in a hurry, not get in a rush, but we like to establish it just right from the ground up with a good strong foundation. We identified some individuals that be a part of that center, and then we'll go from there. But it's kind of getting its way. We're looking for a place and stuff and whatnot, but we want to be how you say self-sufficient. If is that a good word, Elijah Toshka?
Oh,
Self-sufficient.
yeah, and then what would you say? Sustainable. We have to create
Yeah.
the foundations to build upon it.
Yeah, and see, and so there's a lot here. We got the to go beyond the Tule Creek, Gabado. Let's break that barrier down internally from within us. We don't want to crumble from internally from the inside out. We want to make that center strong and then grow from that and not patronize this way, but actually establish what you were talking about, Chie, about these societies and how memorable these particular years would come and the stories you would talk about in the winter and then kind of live out in preparation for the getting ready in the spring. Wetu, that's something that we need to understand is a cycle in these 4 seasons. Look how many people don't live in 4 seasons. Some just live Scottsdale, Arizona, one season all year. but but us, we live in 4 seasons. We experience the beauty of that, and we take the time to go within internally. But I think establishing the Buffalo Chaser Society with some responsibility, some respect, and some discipline, I think that will establish the generation of other societies too, generating them to get established. The Women's Society, where we know there's a women's society is going to evolve out of this one. We already understand that. So we just got to identify those that can really carry that have the compassion and the empathy to lead like that, the nacha. You think?
When we were talking about spring, I looked into this stuff that I supervise in the development of this curriculum is about weather.
Mm-hmm.
And just offhand, there's like 42 different ways in which they identify weather.
Yeah.
And one that I've been watching out for is I haven't heard them yet, but Wakea Tawampi, lightning,
Yeah.
the thunder beings. I haven't heard them here yet. I don't know about you
No.
guys out there.
No, when they
That's-
come back, we leave tobacco. Wakia glipi.
So this river that goes by us is called Minishoshe.
Yeah.
And Minishoshe,
Muddy water.
yeah. So what it really means is that when it rises and goes down, there's a characteristic about it. So Minishoshe, when it rises, it's time to move the lower camp on the Oblaya up on the flats, and vice versa. So that's a seasonal movement. In the winter time, when it starts getting cold, they get below, so the wind goes over the top of them in the woods.
Yeah.
Then when the river rises, starts going across up the banks, and then they move up on the hill.
Is that cool
Yeah.
or what?
Yeah, that's
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so. Anyway, so we tried to organize an educational component at the college here. We were all set to go, and this pandemic came in, so it was canceled. But I hope somebody has honored it, because here I haven't heard them thunder beings yet.
Yeah.
My grandpa's my matrilineal side is Brave Thunder.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So they had a strong relationship with that. And so right now I'm the oldest Brave Thunder on Standing Rock right now
Oh.
on my matrilineal side.
So what was Victor to you?
Victor is when we were little.
Was he a Brave Thunder or a Redfish?
Well, no, his original name he's an Bear King.
Oh.
His mom is from Bullhead. And see, what happened was that years ago, my dad had 3 sons. He had myself, my brother Tom, and Jigs, the baby boy. And then Uncle Bill had 3 daughters. And Lucy Jane, I think she lives in Wolf Point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of his daughters.
Yeah.
And then Annabelle and Loretta. And so those days, he wanted to, how would you say, have the experience of having a son.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was in line for that. They were going to exchange.
Oh,
So that's the hookah.
yeah.
And so in that process, it was about to happen. And here, Victor was born.
Yeah, yeah. That's Lucy's little brother. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened there is, well, blood-wise, that's they're adopted each other. Atayapi, they call it. So anyway, so when he came along, he was adopted out. And so Uncle Bill and him adopted him. And so Victor became a redfish.
Oh,
And then as the years went by, Auntie Rosie wanted to keep the name going, the Brayflander name,
uh-huh.
because all of us were going by our dad's name, Bullhead.
Yeah.
Hunkapah is supposed to be Buffalo Head. And so he changed his name to Brave Thunder. We grew up together.
But at the end, he went back to redfish, didn't he? I thought.
No, everything he remains the same. He's got some little, he's got his, they're my neighbors down here, little guys.
So Auntie Lucy Jane, she was a Brave Thunder then?
No, she was a, got mixed up here. She was not a Brave Thunder. She was a Redfish,
Redfish.
Uncle Bill's daughter.
Yeah. Because she always told me that Victor was out, that was her little brother.
Oh, a Teapi.
Blood brother. Yeah.
No, a Teapi.
No, she
Yeah.
was a Teapi. Oh,
Yeah.
Echitu. Oh, okay. Now I'm kind of getting it, yeah. Because remember, he came up when I finished that
Yeah,
Nagiglo Hoppy. He come did all those ceremonies for us, eh?
Yeah.
Because he had Lala Joe's ceremony. Remember
Yeah.
those hunka sticks he used with the
Yeah, the
corn?
corn, yeah. That's that process is recorded too, the use of all that stuff in the Densmore collection.
Yeah.
It's surprising to note that there's a lot of songs that were taken, used today for those ceremonies like that.
Uh-huh.
Even
You
down
know-
to the coming of the white calf woman.
That hunka ceremony with the sticks that Lala Joe used to use with the corn on it. I
Both
asked
sides.
him. Yeah, I asked him about it. Yeah, both sides. I asked him about that, and I says, "How come there's corn on there?" And what he shared with me was, he spoke in Dakota, but I didn't understand, so he had to tell me in English. But he said, a long time ago, this chief had 3 sons, Giabado, and they went out hunting or something like that on a party, and here these Arikaras, they killed that boy. And so they come back with the news and told the chief, and so the chief was going out and go get his revenge. And that night they camped, and that night the spirits came to him, and they said, "Don't kill that chief. You go and you adopt his son." He said, and in that's what they're going to refer to as hunka. Yeah, that's what Lala Joe shared with me, and I said, "Oh, so he told me." He said, "That's why I have corn on my hunka sticks, because that's their sustenance, that's their main meal." And he said, "So whenever you see an arikara, you go shake their hand, because that's your relative. That's the one that give us hunka." That's the story he told me. Did you ever hear something like that before?
Yeah, there's a version of that in the Densmore collection.
Oh,
And then
oh.
it's at the Sundances, they talk about that. They present it to the dancers. They orientate them on that. Because most of them are all honka,
Yeah.
all the people participating have adopted each other in some way. All right, but
And
there is it's in the Densmore collection.
Yeah, because he said the Rikara initiated that. So go shake their hand. Whenever you see them, he said, you go shake their hand, because that's your relative. And I said, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so I try to respect that, eh? But that's amazing. That corn represented. He said that's their main meal, because they ate corn, eh? For whatever
Yeah.
reason, that's what got them through. Like we ate wasna or something. They had corn for their main sustenance. I guess.
The version that is recorded here on Standing Rock in 1910
Hmm.
by an elderly man. It was a seed that was given to him.
Oh,
So they planted it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so that they had lost a son, and it's more detailed, but basically that's what it was. They were given some seeds.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so they
yeah.
grew it, and
That's what it was. Yeah.
that's how the corn became part of.
Wishing for them to keep living and be sustained by the corn as well. It's a strong medicine they felt. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's I remember now. Oh, all right.
Wagamisa, it's called.
Yeah, Wagmiza. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that has to do with seeds or harvesting, it's Su.
Yeah.
S-U, not Su.
Yeah.
You know, like August, Wasu, the moon of seeds
Seeds.
falling to the ground, It's just like when your nose runs, that stuff comes out, like that's the same thing.
Champa susu.
Yeah.
Susu. Don't say that.
Don't pluralize that, I said, but they did it anyway. All those Indian ladies sit behind the coach, how they have their mouth.
Yeah.
Don't pluralize it.
Yeah. But
Anyway, there's
go
so
ahead,
much
Earl.
there's so much information that's available that people don't I'm surprised a lot. People don't read about it,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that I've learned from what I've been told as a young boy and listening to people speak about them in the
Mhm.
language.
Yeah.
They're coming in, they're starting to come into the surface now.
Yeah.
So like the Densmore collection, these old timers, they knew to leave something for the next generations. And so when they did this project, this lady came, right? Frances Densmore came. They were very, how would you call it, cooperative. And so they organized a little a board of elderlies that knew what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And so when people brought their songs to be recorded, they judged them.
Mhm.
And they said, there's no meaning to that song. He's just coming over to get the 10 cents.
Dokchinkche.
Yeah. So, that was going on too. That's reality.
Yeah.
Like we have a lot of our relatives that became Indian policemen at $10 a month.
Yeah.
Geez, can you imagine? Of course, them days, money was more powerful, but you can get more things with it. But we have lots of people that were listed in historical documents that became Indian police.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to do, gee.
Yeah. Well, you see that's what, like with this virtual experience we're going through, is help people understand the importance of expanding their worldview, if you will, for lack of a better word. We have the capabilities. We know what's going on in China right now. We could press a button. We know what the heck's going on, and that's around the whole world. Makasit omni. That's the word for that, eh? And people don't understand. That's exactly what we're trying to do here. Help them understand that when we get this attitude, that's why I wanted to share the way in which I was sharing with this higher power. They call prayer in English, so they can understand how we think. What we're preparing for, what are we saying, what are we doing, what are they saying? And when you speak about the language, there's ceremonial men and women. One word will make a difference. One word, the old words like tunkashila. We spoke about that already in one of the podcasts, and I'm so glad you talked about that, because there's one word as we go can make so much different to the healing process of different individuals. It's not the same word all the time. It's something that is brought back to us from the spiritual world. Well, where'd you get that word? How'd you know that word? I don't know. Like when they bring you a tune, Brother Matt, when they share with you words that go in appropriately in these songs, and again, the intent that's there. How'd you get that? Well, that's the blessing that you have, eh? That's what I'm talking about, the blessing. I'm not blessed with anything. Me, Craig, just kind of toughing it out here until I get to the other side. But um, eh, we're trying to expand that worldview and help people understand the commonness that exists there. That's why we want to remain apolitical. That's why we'd like to be more uh, individuality, to understand, look inwardly, and heal from the inside out, and just say, hey, under this critical thought process, man, I'm legit, man. I'm too legit to quit because I come from the stars, and I'm going to return to the stars where all my relatives are, and I'm going to be, I was thinking today, I wonder if the Wanagi have characters like we have. They're skinheads or goofy or they're real wise or I often wonder that. What do you think?
That's pretty heavy stuff there when it comes to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Jeez, he said.
But the one thing that came to mind while you were talking was the word makasitho, the makasitomania,
Yeah.
And so I say makasitomania. Domania comes close to a word that we use for somebody that's
Staggering around, isn't it?
yeah. So you have to make sure that you've analyzed that blue, because remember the Hopi said that when prophesied, they said the earth was blue.
Yeah.
And our people know that too,
Yeah.
Yeah, makasitho.
Sito.
Yeah. So anyways, that's always debatable. I've always heard interesting viewpoints on that. So what I choose to say makasitomania.
Yeah. Otherwise, the world is staggering around now.
Well, that's where we're at now. Yeah. We're not that far off. We're there.
Getting close here.
Animals are such a. I used to have a dog. His name was Tokyo, and one time he got mange really bad. So as a young man, he used to come and mow my lawn and do chores around the house for cigarettes or, gas money and stuff. And so he got to know Tokyo really well. He babysit him oftentimes. So he developed a bondship with my dog. And here, I heard some growling outside, so I peeked out the bathroom window, and here, there's this young guy. He come over and he was intoxicated, and Tokyo, my dog, was growling at him because the dog knew he was Itomini,
Yeah.
And he was trying to pet him, and every time he reached his hand, he'd bark at him like he's an attack,
Yeah.
And pretty soon he started trying to wave too much, so then Tokyo started chasing him, And so there was a metal fence, and so this young man jumped like that, and your Tokyo jumped up and caught his pants leg, so he came down on the other cause,
Oh.
So he rolled over on the other side. And here, next day, thunder come back, and they were friends again. But Tokyo knew he wasn't in the right mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knew that, eh?
Yeah.
These guys.
I wish some of our people would realize, that their character changes. And of course, that's where Mini Waka came in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Took a shot of that and get dope shots. Anyway, I was sitting back and was thinking about the seasons, they're well described.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really something, Boloketu, they said, well, I have a chashe Bodo Umani.
Oh.
He's walking around because that's what the buffalo do when it's time to plant their seed, so to speak.
Yeah.
When they're mating, Boloke. So they say, well, Boloke Umani is walking around like a buffalo, looking for a snag.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Wamakashka, has to do with the animals moving,
Oh.
and when you do,
Yeah.
deep breath of a Shinakiche, Mujima Kashinakiche, where the earth has blanketed herself.
That blanket over it. Yeah.
Yeah. So all that has a learning experience along with it. And sharing that, people will remember things better that way. You know, you put some history to them, a spirit.
You know, Elijah, Toshka Elijah,
Oh.
at some point in time, as we get along, just to help our listeners understand the importance of uh, how our language is dealt with in such a respectful way, with Chie Earl being here, we can speak to things like, you know, people don't understand when you're speaking without any sarcasm. What you mean is what you say, and what you say is what you mean. You know, like we talk. Let's say sexually, there's no such thing. It's naturally, eh? It's naturally. But yet, for whatever reason, they made that dirty. And to us, it's not dirty, it's very respectful. And again, we'll need to, at some point in time, help people understand you didn't do these things for um, personal gain or personal worth. You did them representing yourself, your family, and your tribe in a dignified, honorable way. And that's what we're trying to get back to, instead of being so uh, bolstering up our own selves, eh? Like Chie is a Eapaha, I'm a Eapaha, and we speak good about people, and we don't have to lie because we know them people, we understand them, we know what their potential is based on what they're capable of doing. And so we talk about things like that. So, and in a good way, there's a way to approach such sensitive things like that. You'll, if you find a traditionalist, you'll never find a feminist. But yet, in a contemporary time, people will get mad at you and say you're being misogynistic if you take a position to where you hold the women in high regard. When the women are trying to be like men, they're actually bringing themselves down in our cultural value system because we revere them so highly. But at some point down the line, Toshka, we'll get a little bit more in depth in that. And then with Chie Earl here, he can help us understand how the presentations was made. Because again, like he made reference to walking around like a buffalo. What do them buffalo do in the spring? Well, we accept that. Say, oh, how that's it do, yeah. It's another way of saying, oh, you're just gonna go out there and try and breed. No, 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 no. That's how we use it, eh? Is that what they call a euphemism?
Yeah, Boloketu.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you see, there's a way in which we respectfully make that presentation to our young people to help them understand. We see you. We know what you're doing. We know you're going to do it, but just be respectful to yourself and your representation of yourself, your family, and your tribe with some dignity and honor. But we'll get into that. I know that we talked over an hour here, and I don't want to hold things up, but Chie, that's one of the discussions. You can maybe jot some things down for future reference so that we can talk about how we naturally went towards that sensitive discussion, like contemporarily now that things are so sensitive because you've got so darn many perverts out there that take advantage of our young people and their naivety. They don't understand that because there's no repercussions. Like a long time ago, we'd kick them out of the tribe, and that usually meant certain death to them. But now there's nothing there for that to occur, so they take advantage of that. They're beating the system per se. But we can talk about those things. But Chie, if you could write that down so for future reference, we can talk about stuff like that, how we dealt with issues like that were done in a respectful way. But anyway, Toshka, I'll turn it back to you. I know you got to get these things going, but Chie, before we go, you got anything else you wanted to add to that?
Well, you were talking about alienation, you know, these stuff. You were not just judged by one person. And so, you know, it was a consensus. And usually it was your own relatives that,
Yeah.
But anyway, well, I have nothing else right now.
Oh,
I'm looking forward to the Four Winds ball game, and that's coming on here pretty soon.
oh, shit, I gotta watch that.
No, stream it.
Oh, I'm gonna try. Okay, Toshka, why not? Yeah.
So again, relatives, we will be bringing you some more programming again every Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. We are doing our best to have this Buffalo Chasers podcast And again, on Fridays I believe from 2 to 3, we have the virtual student talking circle. So
Are we still going to have that tomorrow, even though we're on spring break?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
good,
still the
good.
plan. Yeah, at least through the end of the semester. If nobody shows up, but at least we'll try and be there.
Yeah.
And then we've also have guest speaker Tahanshi Jeremy Red Eagle on Tuesdays for the next couple weeks. He'll be there. So we're just trying to mix it up, add some other components. You know, when I listen to you gentlemen talk, there's just a tremendous need to create more spaces for these types of conversations.
Yeah.
Dagawas ichikoyake was a term that I had heard. It's all connected. We try to separate some of these things, but man, they lead into other conversations. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more of your guys' thoughts on all these topics. So there's just so much to learn. So with that, mitakuepi dokshta kewachia kapikte.
Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya 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 hey ha yo hey yo hey yo Fort Beck Community College Ukiepino yo yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo yo wata pepe hagi ktabi ichachi ya bino hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey yo hey yo hey yo Fort Beck Community College Ukiepino yo yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo yo wata pepe hagi ktabi ichachi ya bino hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha hey yo hey yo hey yo Fort Beck Community College Ukiepino yo yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo yo wata pepe hagi ktabi ichachi ya bino hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey hey yo hey yo hey yo Fort Beck Community College je uki e pino yo me to ga she da go shka shka yogi pe no yo wata pepe hagik tabe in hachi ya pino